a little bit of space here, and honestly, he's got a lot of space. It's all to himself.
A lot of space, great loadout already. This is the prime spot in position to be in. Now, what I like about the Sleepy Sound drop spot is that you are so close to that Daily Bugle, a highly contested drop. But hold up, DJ and Yamso are under contestation again here. Knifer and Blah walk away victorious as they manage to secure the llama again, and of course get the loot, the loadout, the guns that they needed to win this battle. And they just seem a little bit sharper. They're the sharpest tool in the box right now. And they're just winning, and they're making it look pretty easy, man. Look at this, 41 points. They're very much in this competition right now. What a day for Knifers.
I mean, all that glitters is gold, but continuing to take that 50-50 definitely proves that they're not necessarily the sharpest tools in the shed going on there, Monster. The song might go. I know, there's a long setup coming in there. I feel slightly bad about that, as we see a number of duos being dropped off. A little bit of a faster game here. So we actually have a replay of our current leaders picking up some elims here there. So swing on over. Spucky down by the Bugle, trying to find a little bit of space here. Already sitting on the two elims. Let's see how we got him.
Take a look here. Daily Bugle, Bucky, and Cam. They're contested. I saw there on the draw spot, Matt Mackwood. I was just going to say Mackwood is here as well. You can see he gets wrapped up and finished there. Mackwood taken out of the competition. Polarized dropped as well. And there's again, this is going to be a contested draw spot, I think, across all regions. There's just little to no reason to let any single individual duo have this drop for free, right? Like, there's plenty of loot here. Now, the type of duos that you come across are going to be what really kind of separates your game from the others. If you just have a team that's exceptional at fighting, it's going to be rougher and rougher. Jamper and Dupe, though, finally put their first big points on the board here as they've been having a struggle of a day. But oh no, the shots are coming in. The shields are cracked here. Jamper's under big pressure. Is he going to drop the heals? Yep. Kind of forced to. This is the most unoptimized usage of it, but it's either use it or lose it. He's trying to find a location to slide on out. He's out of builds and couldn't slide over the top spot fast enough there. Acorn and Kanata picked themselves up a great elimination there to keep their top three position alive here, solidify the strength, and get them one step closer now to sniping up second. I think that puts them a point threshold away from second place now.
And Casker's still lurking nearby, but we're going to swing on over. Zyphon's Epoxy in a fight over at Rocky Reels. Directly on top of them is another duo, but Alige having a tough day of it today, going down again. Let's see if Sharkboy and Lava Girl are going to be able to win this fight out. Unfortunately, they have been unsuccessful so far, just like so many other reboots going on here. But right now, Zypha trying to find the shots, and he's going to be able to find those. No problem. They clean those ones up. Honestly, it's pretty easy for him there.
Yeah, game one, you know, Lava Girl and Sharkboy there did have some success. That was going to be their first set of points. Unfortunately, since then, game 2 and 3 definitely not going in their favor. Zypha and his duo, Epoxy, they were playing just a little bit better. Back on over to Kanata and Acorn, though. It seems like they might have found Casker, and they just added him to the death note there. And there it is. That's quick wraps as they find themselves another Elim. This is 4 eliminations already, and we're only in the first couple minutes, first couple moments of the zone here. Wow.
Yeah, nice little plus 12 going on from there as P-God ends up getting cleaned up from Bank. But let's take a look at what else is going on in the new flipped island here. Here's Elim number 3 coming out here. Kanata, as we flip back over. Again, we talked about it, 4 Elims between the pair. Acorn splitting with his own duo to play with the Kangarna member. And right now, they're doing pretty well. Honestly, 73 points like you talked about, right in touching distance of second place. I think he might have just flipped over as you talked about it. Yeah, that should be able to push him just in line with it now as we're going to swing back on over. We talked about how they were in such a power position in game number 2, had a great game 1, but now maybe the wheels have fallen off the bus a little bit here. As game number 3, they go down early and they're going to fall off the pace really hard.
And you could tell they were playing very aggressive there because they had the high ground mountain position, the upper portion of the mines. They played their way on down to Golden Seiko, who were just ready for the fight. That's going to be 2 Elims for them. And let's not forget, last game they fell way too early, right? They had the Elims. They did not get the placement points. And you can see how quickly that can drop you from your key positioning on the standings. Now with this game, not earning any points, this is going to be even more of a setback for them now. Again, all these teams that you're watching are not out of the competition. There's still 3 more games in front of us. So plenty of room here, but it's going to be again, more and more tough. You need almost a perfect execution of the next several rounds if you want to make it to the finals.
Just swing on over to Milk's Rhythm. Though I do want to comment, man. Dropping a legendary Ranger feels so bad. I know people vastly prefer the MK7, the Mark 7, however you want to say it, compared to the Ranger, but the Ranger is really strong. The thing hits like a truck, and if you're already going to be carrying a Striker SMG with you, and you don't necessarily have the most medium ammo, I would almost default it over. All it takes is if you're able to hit those like triple dink headshots like right off of the bat, or even just 1 or 2 headshots in a close range, the thing has a lot of stopping power. It'll make somebody box up real quick.
Yeah, and the body damage as well, right? Big damage. So when it comes down to long range tags and whatnot, I mean, can honestly be a much more effective usage of your ammunition, but either way, Rhythm's gonna go ahead and opt into this FK7 alongside Milks. So far so good as they play a very interesting wide strat here. This is gonna force them into the zone for a little bit. Deciding to not burn through the web slingers, instead take their time here, play for their max material. They kind of have to play into this. Now, the way they survive this, guys, is if they understand the map here, they can find some campfires or something to play with, because otherwise they're going to be in the zone for quite some time. You can see that this team here is safe, and they're all the way east on the islands, and you don't see the storm's edge there, so this is a very far eastern zone. All those teams on the west sides are going to be in a pretty tough predicament now as they have to rotate all the way across.
That far east movement, but right now Lone Star not necessarily looking to fly like a G6. He needs to be able to find the shots here in this 2v2, and they've had a real tough time doing it today. Only 13 points on the board, and we've seen them while having these back and forths in the early fights. They haven't necessarily looked clean, and you need to be able to resolve them quickly, because if you don't, you just end up in shambles and somebody else ends up coming by, or you get forced out of the zone. However, as you talked about it, we got one of those far zones, so they have a little bit more time than they normally would. And it also looks like both of these teams have spent plenty of time gathering up a lot of utilities, so if they want to make it difficult for each other, they really can.
Yeah, definitely, and Ritual seems like he hasn't gotten tagged much. You can see how much HP or how much stuff he has to work with as far as his loadout goes. Here comes a disengage. They actually end up breaking the whole structure down. There's no fall damage that comes out of that. You can tell that they were kind of thinking that the opponents are a bit higher, but still, they have full advantage of the situation. That's his wall as well. He can go for the replacement here if he wants, but no. Instead, the cone comes out. Big shotgun shot here. Ritual now back against the wall. Gets the cone over him as well, so has to be very careful here. But it's okay. Things start to slow down now. A little bit of a reset here. And what looked like a great position for them now is turning into a worse one here, as they have quickly gone through mats and heals here.
And you can see some Kungarna on Kungarna crime in the feed there.
Oh, no.
As Acorn, Kanata are able to pick up K-Burbs and Sparebow, but right now, Nevify is being backed out, and we talked about they were in a great position, but the second you get hit with a shotgun shot and you don't have one, things get real weird, because you don't necessarily feel confident. It's like, oh, one more of those and I'm going to get back down, and all of a sudden, Drew and Eshu feel a lot better now.
Honestly, pretty fair matchup as well, at least what the point story is telling us. These guys are right about neck and neck here, exchanging blows round after round. So game 3 goes into the hands of Drew and Ishu. Well played for them. They managed to stay alive for the rest of this round. We'll see how they manage to bounce back in this game. Can they make an end game out of this crazy situation that's kind of unfolded for them? Acorn and Kanata, though, going with the dead side rotate, trying to set themselves up for that super wide swing. Have to be careful for these lurking teams on the outer edge, and mind you, this is the scariest vehicle to be in to hit your rotates as well. Those large windows that are easy to target you through, but luckily the team just nearby was very passive and let him pass by. Here's a solo on this rotate as well. Bank just hanging out inside the shifty shafts here. He wants no problems, no troubles here.
No, just going to let him go past, and honestly, look at Kanata's loadout right now. He's just sitting on the epic MK7 legendary striker pump, has the rare striker SMG, maxed out on minis, maxed out on chug splashes, 2 launch pads, 2 steel walls. On top of all of that with the max builds, they're sitting on 6 elimination, so they don't have to worry about Storm Surge. We talked about the pace of the game picking up. That's generally what you'll see in matches 3 and 4, but unfortunately for Cold and Scented, they take in awful line towards a box. You can't do that. You can't drive straight towards a box. It's one of the few spots that no car will offer you cover. Your windshield gets blown out immediately, and they have now burned through every single one of their splashes, and they're immediately under pressure here. Colt taking so much damage, and just as a solo there, tries to put the launch pad down, but unfortunately was covered up. The tree above him anyway wouldn't have let him down. We've seen he's amazingly good at these fights, but with spray coming through on the side, 13 HP and a Dream, and the Dream is more of a nightmare as he finds two great shots on the Edgy, but Edgy and Tahi going to take advantage of the solo there.
Did not stand a chance. Once they saw, hey, there's only a single person in that car, he jumped out. We got this, right? And the big tags was just set up for success at that point. Edgy and Tahi get a lot of loot as well off of him. Mind you, Cold brought in a launch pad there, so very, very nice for them. So hopping on over to Blastro and Aiden here. Little flip of the vehicle, missing a tire as well. This is hello.
Hello?
I know you're under stress, man, but all right, but you're heading the game here, man.
Again, don't forget Fortnite is rated teen. It's 13 plus, so there are some of our players who don't necessarily have their permit, have their license yet there, and Blastro might end up being one of those players, not necessarily sure of that regard, but now we're gonna swing back on over here. Bucky, great angle, just laying down shots from above. And again, we talk about loadouts. These guys set up pretty well, position it and loadout wide. And let's take a look here at a quick little replay. Some fantastic shots coming from Bucky there. Sheesh.
We were questioning why players pick up that MK7. You can see just exactly why, you know, you put the dot and you click the tracking here for Bucky. Exceptional, especially from this high ground position. Just plays into the weapon so perfectly. Two elims as well, so you know they're padded up on Storm Surge. They're not going to have a big issue at all coming into these next couple of rotations here. Kanata and Acorn land themselves right on top of a duo. We look away for a second, and down goes Milks here. And just like that, Acorn and Kanata now looking for the next fight potentially as well. They want to finish this up. They find Rhythm here, and they're on the hunt. There goes the cone. He does not grab him. And look at this, the patience, the discipline to back on up, but smarter than Rhythm may have thought. They figured out his pathing there. They did not get the elim though. Someone else picked it up, but they do get to sit on the spoils of the war here. And look at that. Cap off. They're right back in the game like they never left, and they have everything that they can hope for now.
And great teamwork, honestly, right there, making sure Acorn was in front, Kanata right behind, being able to just layer in the shots. You can tell that they really wanted to find that elimination, but they'll take having the additional space and whatever. Massey ended up dropping over. You could see Qua and Magnolia really needed the points in that regard. And Illis has had a fantastic individual performance today. He's going to boomerang right back real quick. He's saying, I don't think I necessarily meant to do that. He wants to hop in the whip with a Jock and make along towards the side here.
Wait, how do you actually play in that?
Towards the northern part of the zone. If they have the ability to just get around the outside, that third zone will be closing in. And again, players want to head just basically center enough to hope that they drop right on the outside of that fourth zone to give them a chance at pulling 50-50. Bonus points if you're able to get up on top of one of the natural high grounds. But looking at where we are on the map, pretty much all of them have already been occupied.
Yeah, and this is the best spot to be in. Stretch and Commandment find themselves in dead center zone. This is where you want to be. This is the spot to be hanging out right now. This is where the party needs to be happening. They should pull a very favorable fourth, which is going to save them tons of material, not to mention they're already capped out. So for them now, the game, the name of the game, find your tags, get comfortable, play for the long game. The difference between a regular public game and an arena match is, and competitive, like high-level competitive, is that Storm Surge and positioning is everything. Let's take a look at these replays, though, as we get caught up on the action. Bucky and Cam roll up as quick as a flash, as bright as 1-2, slides on in. They find Nexi before he can even slide out. This player boxed up here. Wrigley didn't stand a single chance. Double striker action comes in there, and they just shut that fight down. And again, the most important thing here, Sundown, they get to sit on this loot. They get to recycle it and use it for the next remainder of the game and the rotate.
Bucky is playing so good today. Able to slide that cone in right away, and then knows that he is already able to take over the left-hand wall, and just immediately ends up finding the shot, doubling back over, and then able to find the striker. I mean, just at very top level, and 4 eliminations now, 125 points. We talked about the 132 line. They're about to get in the cascading placement points. Like, we might be looking at our first top 8 spot coming off of the board with 3 matches down. As I'm going to swing on over. Hello. Booga catches somebody holding their blueprints or something right there, as he also gets caught doing the same instead, doing a little knee slide. But you can build while doing that. No reason to just assume this faster movement speed is going to do enough, as he loses a bunch of shield, but not going to be the end of the world. Still has plenty of chug splashes here. 55 players up, 28 duos on their feet, so we're almost into the cascading placement points. Those will start a top 25 as they're up to 7 eliminations.
Yeah, big, huge game for them. Another team starting to approach that triple-digit mark here. Acorn and Kanata is sitting at 7 eliminations and comfortable. We're going to slide over to some other very interesting developing fights here in the mid-game right now. Aviv clutching up on the outer edge here down. And you can see he's pretty excited about that, but I think the lobby turned on him. So he has to start figuring out whether or not this is huge worth. We'll see. There it is. Yeah, you knew just from the eyebrows, the facial expression, something bad was coming. Just after that, were the points worth it? Maybe. I mean, they're pretty low. They need some points, right? Keep them in the game, keep the spirits up.
And need the confidence, really, right? Like, because again, just making here is incredibly impressive, going from the pool of open players down into the top 400, then into the top 50, and playing with, I mean, this is one of the more stacked duo lobbies we've seen in a long time on NA East, and just being able to pick up any amount of elimination points is going to feel good. And don't forget the series points on the line as well. We want to be able to push forward. We're seeing somebody who, again, we talked about a really solid individual performance so far from Illis, a player who's been around for a very long time, trying to continue it up, is now on the right-hand side. You can see 33, Charlie, formerly known as Straw Hat Charlie, with Spegu as well. They're below Surge Monster, one of 3 duos who will be under pressure here in just 20 seconds.
Yeah, this is a rough spot to be in. I mean, they do have some heals to work with, but look at Charlie's loadout, right? This is high fire rate, no shotgun, so this is going to be an all-or-nothing type dive that they have to commit to if they want to jump in someone's box. Yes, the follow-up pressure is there, but if you just dump the magazine and you don't find the tags, you're not going to have enough time to hit the reload, and that's what I'm talking about there. You have to get the full melt here, otherwise your teammate's going to have to get the trades, and he does, I think, manage to get some. Kind of hard to tell. No, doesn't look like it. Jeff and Plague actually come out on top. They just get deleted. It's a little too predictable. It's an all-or-nothing type play. Against the top tiers, you know, it's not always going to work.
1,100 damage above Storm Surge. You can see Fifth Zone did pull back in towards the center part of the island, so the couple who took the gamble to go all the way out are going to have to make that swim back across over to the mainland, and a lot of people have already ended up being posted up. You can see Acorn doing his best to just snag that little medkit. He's going to be able to swing it over, and again, still sitting on 7 eliminations, and they have a pretty good priority position on a lot of these duos who are going to be able to rotate in. The real question is, what does their ammo management look like? You can see that Acorn has plenty of light bullets right now, but unsure what the medium looks like. We'll swing back on over to what our current leaders, and honestly, they're looking at a qualifying spot as now we're into the cascading placement points. Each duo that goes down will be +1 points, and the EU line was only 5 away.
Yeah, this is it. They've absolutely punched their way through at this point. All they have to do is cruise their way through this end game. The mythic, right, web slingers, the Spider-Man mythic hands here, is just going to allow them to go ahead and solidify that placement. And not only that, worth mentioning, they pulled zone. Look, the zone went all the way east this time around, so everything worked in their favor these last 3 games. Couldn't have just been better for them. They're in a position to go for height again. There's a reason why Bucky and Cam have been on high ground. It makes sense. They have the Daily Bugle on lock. They're winning the drop spot fight, and they have everything they need to take high ground, right? A well-timed, executed high ground retake is all that they have to plan for and continue to take dubs. So if that's going to be the play, the win condition, I mean, they definitely have it at this point.
Yo, what is this loadout? What is this loadout? I don't know if it's shambles or like 200 IQ, but like, yeah, it's just like, I will make it work, and if somebody happens to chip damage me, maybe something can happen. But I do like the fact that oh no, I was about to say the player with the lower amount of medium ammo is holding the Ranger, but they both only have basically what is already in the chamber or magazine. I don't know. I'm not really a gun person. They got not a lot of bullets. All right.
Yep. It's pretty clear. This is a rough spot to be in. The second time now we've seen a team on height. just not quite have what it takes to hold height, and it doesn't really matter. New high grounds are going to start being developed here as everyone has to rotate across. Kanata on the other side, different story, much different position. All the ammo in the lobby in the world that he can actually hold and use here, and you can see they're putting it to the best of its capability. Hold players on the Storm's edge, get them off your layer if you can't get the elim, and just like that, it works out perfectly. Now, seems like they're trying to look for the next kind of setup here. There goes the full slide, and bam. Shotgun shot comes out, doesn't quite find it, but the piece control was good. Punishment from the other side, though. Has to hit the pause. Whoa, big armor walls come out. Okay, so they're committing to the safety of this game here. Smart, slow, and steady here.
And up on the high ground yet again, Bucky and Cam. Can they make it 3 in a row? Put the stamp and say, not only are we qualifying, we're going to do it with style. Acididorf actually ends up picking up Acorn, so Kanata going to end up being on his own there. Speaking of on his own, that's Illis on the other side. He's going to pick up Goofy Goober. He says, yes, I am, but are you? He ends up going down on that side as Illis continuing to try and find a little bit of space. It does have the med miss, but he's got to start clicking as it only ends up buying you so much space. Find it. Can he end up clicking? Has to keep holding it down. You can just barely able to offset it, but no, just barely runs out as Blah and Knife are trying to challenge up. Bucky able to defensively hold him off for a second, but Cam going down, however, for eliminations, pushing in 136 points again. The qualifying run has been completed. Batch going down on that side. Our match 1 and match 2 champion now sitting as a solo, trying to find a little bit of space, still has 2 charges. He's going to wait to try and be all the way on the backside of the zone and then catch himself back up. Taking shield damage is fine. He has excess of those, but he doesn't want to take any more white damage. Knifer and Blah are going to continue working on the top down as we swing back over. Canada on the backside of the zone has that legendary striker, trying to find a little bit of a shot. Only finds the 29 there, has a little bit of space, but with no builds, he opens up and then says a good night. As you can see, that little God Ray going down onto Bucky, that indicates where the current leader is as they swing up to the high ground.
This is a very, very important moment now for Knifer and Blah. They actually need this here. They were behind because they kind of had some bad exchanges in the early game, but we saw them find these early game eliminations for the drop spot over at the Llama, right? They've been fighting for this game after game. If they can secure Victory Royale, this would be one step closer, because I feel like their elimination in the early game is just inevitable, right? It's really hard to play contested drops, so this is going to be one of the most important games for them, but the pressure from users on the low ground was a little too good. They get broken out. Clarity's trying to get on in. He's changing the story up. Big shots there, but no. Gets shut down in the low ground there by Thrashy, and all of a sudden now high ground is up for grabs. Nounsy and Sprite managed to pull away with it just barely, and there it is. They find the mats from threats. They're going to have just a little bit more to work with, and all the heals come with it, so all of a sudden, the new team's on height here. Blah does find a couple elims as he starts to jump on down, but there's new high ground. Kimson, Nounsy, and Sprite. 5 eliminations for this duo up top.
And unlike last game where it was one duo and a bunch of solos, now 4 duos battling it out. 8 players still on their feet as TK ends up knocking Nani on the low ground. We still see Nounsy and Sprite laying down shots from above as the battle on the low ground ends up playing out. Visuals gets the roller. Trashy ends up trading him out as TK gets the confirm going over, but it's just going to be the top down. High ground takes it yet again as Nounsy and Sprite just spraying towards the back of the zone. And Nounsy says, backpack, backpack, where are you? Hop on in, Sprite. 7 eliminations for himself, Monster, as we take a look at the highlights.
Huge game, too, for Pump right there at 2nd place. And look at the points that Nani and Pump managed to pick up there. Tons of eliminations in the end game. They didn't have many sliding into this. It was only until the top 10 they started to rack up. And look, they just didn't stop. Nounsy on the other side as well. Similar story here as they went from 0 to 7 eliminations after they broke into that end game as well, finding themselves a huge Victory Royale. Before that game, they were way down the standings, and that's what we're talking about. Mid-game, mid-tournament swings to put them up at the top, and now in a fighting position for a top 8 here.
Yeah, and now honestly, I'm really curious to see what the leaderboard looks like, because we saw after the first 2 games, so many points were allocated towards Bucky up at the top and their ability to just win those matches out. Bucky and Cam doing incredibly well, and they still got a lot of points this game, but this was our first real shakeup, so I think we're going to have a lot to break down.
Yeah, all of a sudden things get a little bit closer for us.
They get real close, but we're going to have to kick it back on over the desk to see what SBG, Vivid, and Adam Savage have for us.
Boys, it's becoming more apparent to me now. It's becoming more apparent. I'm seeing it clearly. High ground has once again become the absolute GOAT when it comes to FNCS. We've seen Sprite and Nounsy claiming that high ground. We saw earlier on, actually, Cam's Duo had that in their capacity. Again, third time in a row, but they were knocked down by Knifer's Duo. Nounsy and Sprite get it. They dominate it, and they go on to get the victory out. Vivid, this is clearly an indication that seems to be the way to play this particular season right now.
Yeah, Nounsy and Sprite following up on the success that Bucky and Cam had in the first 2 games. Nounsy and Sprite are like, hey, we want a little bit of the action ourselves, so they go ahead and take it very late into the game. And towards the end here, they are just showcasing so well why it is so strong, especially in this meta. These high rate of fire weapons in the Stinger SMG and the MK7 just apply so much pressure to every layer below them that they just literally suffocate these players and pick up a quick amount of elims and finish it off with a victory royale.
They just cleaned that up. I mean, as simple as that. And that's now 3 games in a row for high ground taking it. I better start seeing some more high ground plays because we have not seen that many.
Well, that's the interesting thing, isn't it? Because you think you expect more. We've seen it in previous seasons for FNCS. A lot of teams trying to get to that high ground. Maybe it's trickier when there's only 2 of you in duos as opposed to trios.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see what happens in the next game. But for now, standing, Sundown mentioned it. Things are probably changing up on the leaderboard. Let's take a closer look. Vivid, walk us through.
Yeah, Bucky and Cam still have a big lead, but the gap there is closing a little bit. Nani and Pump, after the high elimination game that they just had, sneaking in with a total of 109 points. And Acorn and Kanata, thank you boys for showing up. They had 6 eliminations going into the second circle. A lot of early elims, bringing them to a total of 16 so far. And as you can see, their placement points are lacking. They're only 49, but still a total of 97. I'm happy to see my prediction up there.
A team that I wanted to predict and snuck right in is Miro and Booga, and they've now snuck into our top 8. We did see Scented and Cold fall down, but a lot of teams jockeying for that position after that dub. Knifer and Byla now in 7th place, so they have still a lot of work to do. We're not done yet. Plenty of games to be played, but a really strong performance right there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Mira and Booga just clutched in, I think, 49th place out of 50 in the previous round. Just got in there, obviously previous FNCS champions. Good to see them there as well. But starting to see some teams really start to break through now. It's quite interesting, actually, the way that we kind of look at Canada is right up there in, like, I think 3rd spot right now. We saw 6 eliminations, like the second circle there. So really a lot of eliminations very early on, Vivid. Yep. What does that tell us about how important that is with, like, the likes of Storm Surge as well?
Listen, I'm going to be honest, outside of the fact that it's just a direct increase on your points, it is so good to get that many eliminations because you know that you are just absolutely fine on Surge throughout the rest of the game. But they didn't even care. We saw them in like the 4th, 5th zone, still being a little bit aggressive going for elims. Unfortunately, they got sniped, from a long distance AR shots right out underneath of their grasp, but they were still being aggressive. So that's amazing to see. We know that there are a lot of teams at Tilted Towers with them, so that's probably where they are finding a lot of those early game eliminations from.
It's interesting to see them just continuing that momentum. Fortnite is a game of momentum. You start to get some and you continue to roll downhill. We'll see if they can keep it up. It's working for them. It's working for Bucky and Cam, as well as Nani and Pump. Those top 3 look really, really strong so far.
Yeah, I think we've seen leaderboards in previous seasons as well. I'm throwing back to those because we start there's a bit of a change in attitude now as well. This passive versus more aggressive play where we're halfway through this competition, 3 games down, 3 to go. The teams now need to switch things up, Vivid, and kind of start thinking about the way they kind of approach their POI potentially, or landing elsewhere. Perhaps there's not too many contestations happening. Maybe it's time to start challenging other teams and start to make some points like Canada has been.
Yeah, Fortnite players love being comfortable, though. They love to pick a drop spot, and they love to stick to it throughout a competition, right? They will almost never switch their drop spot. So I doubt that we'll see a big switch up in the drop spots, but maybe a little bit different playstyle, right? Maybe some of them are having some struggles with Storm Surge, so they try to be a little bit more aggressive in the mid to early game. Or maybe some of them are just like, hey, we want to go for high ground now.
That's right. Speaking of high ground, it's Battle Bus time. We are heading into game number 4. We're ready. You guys are ready. Sundown and Monster are ready. Let's head over to them to game 4.
Thank you so much, Adam, Vivid, and SBG. 3 matches down, 3 more to go. One of our 8 spots has been taken due to the amazing performance from NRG, Bucky, and Cam, winners of match 1, match 2, and a pretty solid match 3 as well, Monster, but 7 are still up for grabs as we get back into the action.
Yeah, and it's looking like Acorn and Kanata, Nani and Pump might just be the next 2 that are up. on the carousel here to go ahead and make their way on in. We get to touchdown first with Bucky and Cam, who have been contested here at the drop for the first time. We get to see exactly what that looks like. It's not looking too hot for Cam, who seems like he got fully landed on up above, potentially there. No, actually, that was Nico and Duke up top, who are in a fight here.